very briefly, you should have before you financial statement for both December and January of 2014. And we'll just speak briefly about January 2014. As you know, January represents the third month of the fiscal year. Of course, on tab 1, you see a statement from me that speaks about the financial conditions of both the state of Alabama and nationally. Revenues currently are up just a little bit in the Education Trust Fund. However, I've already seen February, and they're about even compared to last year for the month of February. If you were turning to tab 2, to the second page on tab 2 where you see balance sheet, of course, the district's balance sheet represents the financial position of the district as of January 31st, 2014. And as you would note, in our general fund, we had about $33.7 million. We had liabilities of about $813,000 with a fund equity of about $32.9 million. Out of that $32.9 million, we had open purchase orders, or these are obligations, of about $5.1 million, and a true fund balance of about $27.8 million. So as of January 31st, we had a true fund balance of about $27.8 million. As you know, Mr. President, ad valorem taxes have started to come in. Most come in during the months of January and February. Therefore, you will see an inflated fund balance in the months of January and February. But those dollars are already budgeted for upcoming expenditures. However, we still are on target to end fiscal year 2014 with between a $19 and $20 million fund balance. Currently, our fund balance requirements is about $16 million. It was $17 million. Now it is about $16.1 million. Mr. President, if I may just say a few things as it relates to this legislative session. As you know, the legislature is still in session, debating the passage of an education bill for fiscal year 2015. And to be honest with you, I don't know what's going to come out of that. I do know that I am afraid. I'm concerned that the funding of K-12 education, as we know it, is in grave danger. I believe that there will be a continuous attempts to divert monies from the Education Trust Fund to pay for general fund expenditures. I also believe that there will be continuous attempts to divert monies from the Education Trust Fund to support tax credits. I also believe there will be continuous attempts to divert monies from the Education Trust Fund to support private schools. This has a grave danger to the Education Trust Fund. And I think we all need to be cognizant of that, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Brown.
Mr. Watts, something has been bothering me dealing with Taiwan.
Yes, ma'am.
If possible, could you tell me when we normally receive Taiwan funds? And once we receive these funds, when do we disperse them to the various schools' accounts? And once the schools receive the funds, when are they supposed to give the funds out to the teachers and so forth?
Okay, Title I funds are maintained at the board level, and what the schools do, they generate purchase requisitions to expend Title I funds. What you may be speaking of is the classroom instructional supply dollars. And we have already sent those dollars out to the schools. I think we sent them out, I think in October or either November. And those monies should be available for those teachers. Actually, they should have been available for those teachers no later than November or December. And certainly if there is a teacher or someone that has a concern about it, I definitely would like them to call me. Because we want to ensure that teachers have access to their monies, and because they have every right to expend those monies on classroom instructional materials and supplies.
Well, my reason for asking you that particular question is because it has been brought to my attention that some teachers did not receive, I would say, information dealing with their Title I funds to February, and school is out in May. And I will talk to you later, okay?
Okay, I certainly appreciate that.
All right.
Mr. White.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, this is also commonly referred to as pupil supply money.
Yes, it's people supply money, which Title I dollars are federal dollars. But these these student material and supply monies or pupil supply dollars, these are dollars that we receive from the state. And we send those dollars directly to the schools so that the schools would have access to provide $300 to teachers for the expenditure for materials and supplies.
The reason that I asked that question is that on last week, I had 2 separate teachers from 2 different schools to approach me about student supply money. And both informed me that they had not or do not receive pupil supply money. So we need to.
Okay, and I would certainly, we can talk about that because I would like to have a conversation with the principals on that. Thank you.
Ms. Williams.
Mr. White, you mentioned the education trust fund and the budget. There was an approved 1%, right?
No. There's talk about a potential 1%.
Well, I mean, it was
In
the
the
committee
Senate.
approved 1%.
That's
In the
correct.
Senate.
Okay, the committee recommended 1%.
Yes, ma'am.
And the governor said he was not signing unless it's 2%.
He did say that.
Okay. So, we're looking at a minimum of 1%, a max of 2% right now.
I really don't know when it hits the for a total vote, Ms. Williams.
Well, I mean, I know, but what's on the table right now?
Yes, that is on the table
Okay.
at this time.
So what's the difference for us out of local funds for the 1% difference?
Okay, I know last year the 2% difference, I want to say it was about $300,000 or $400,000, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and look at those numbers.
Okay, so if it's looking at last year's budget, 2% was 300 and some thousand, 1% would be 150.
That's correct.
some thousand.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I get one last one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you stated about the tax credit and so forth. You were speaking of the funds that will be used for the students that have been taken out of, I was supposed to be failing schools and going to, most of them are going to Catholic schools. So they will be taking the money that is supposed to be set aside for these tax credits out of the educational trust fund, right?
That's correct. Your dollars will be taken out of the education trust fund to go to corporations that help fund scholarships for the private school students.
Ms. Andrews.
You mentioned the $6.1 million that we need, which is different than the $17 million. What's the difference and why?
Well, they went back and looked at what our 1 month fund balance requirements are.
Right.
And because we have reduced expenditures totally in our general fund, therefore the 1 month requirement automatically reduces also.
Anyone else? Thank you, sir. As you all can, board members, if you can recall, when we amended our consent agenda, we took off 8B, Operations Division Consulting Services. So we are now ready to entertain that as an individual item. It is the recommendation that we approve a consulting contract with Center for Leadership and Technology in the amount of $468,250.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second. that we approve a consulting contract with Center for Leadership and Technology in the amount of $468,250. Is there any discussion? Ms. Williams?
Thank you, Mr. President, and I talked with Dr. Witherspoon briefly and with Mr. Watts today, time permitted finally. And I also had a brief conversation with Dr. Stevenson. I have some questions. Now, from my understanding from the conversation today, this is a contract for consulting services, correct?
That is correct.
And do we have a contract?
Well, pending approval, the contract will be worked through with the administration.
Typically, if we're gonna, approve a contract, we review the contract before approval.
This would be the consulting services. I mean, we have moved items before with the contract being negotiated, if you will, with the administration. We did that with the technology, with the security, so we have done that before.
Okay. Well, I couldn't get an understanding of what the detailed services were or the duration of those services. And I'd just like to know what the end product will present for Birmingham City Schools. The amount of projects, I think from my understanding of Dr. Stevenson, it would be program management for technology.
Dr. Stevens.
Board President, board members, Dr. Witherspoon, it's not just for technology. Technology is one component of the operational division. This is a consulting contract for all of the operation projects that are working now.
So can you give me what those projects are?
Yes, ma'am. The E-rate support is one of those projects, and that is one of the ones that's under technology. And when I say E-rate support, in 2010, we actually got an E-rate award to where we replaced our new telephone systems, we upgraded our wireless, and we are also adding new cabling in places that need to be. Well, with projects of that nature, we actually have to have someone that's going to go back behind our vendors and make sure that our vendors are giving us what they say they're giving us. For example, say they on the contract is for them to put cabling and 10 Wi-Fi devices in a school. Well, somebody actually has to go back to make sure it's there, it's operational, and it's functioning. And that is what CELT is doing for that particular project, as well as the telephone systems, the new telephone system, the VoIP. They're also going to help us with the procurement services of the Total Technology Refresh program. Also, registration and content management system that's coming on board. They're helping with
Say it again.
the registration and content management system. So one of the pieces,
What is that?
okay, online registration for students,
Okay.
but content management is also, for example, right now we have a lot of paper records. So this process is going to take all those paper records and make them paperless. So all of that will be part of the registration system. And also the school safety system.
Now, that's the contract that we just did a little while ago, right?
With the security.
Okay.
And the thought behind combining all of these as opposed to piecemealing with each one is to get a better pricing. So it's not necessarily how long they're going to be here. It depends on how long each of these projects are implemented and how long it takes for them to be implemented, and they ensure that we got a fully functioning, deliverable systems according to our contracts.
Okay, so there is no duration on this contract, this consulting contract?
I'm not saying there's not a duration. I'm saying they're working them by the project. So once they have ensured us that we have a fully functioning project according to our contracts for these, then this contract will end.
So what's our payable schedule for this contract?
The payable schedule, I am thinking, is monthly because that's how we've paid them in the past.
So if we pay them monthly, we're paying them on a monthly schedule. How many months then?
Well, generally how we do it is prorated. For example, in the past, only a portion of the services, depending on how much they completed, is prorated on a monthly basis. That's how we've done it in the past.
Okay, so it's different than the other program management contracts. This is going to be based on services rendered.
Percentage of completion, yes.
Okay, correct. Okay. Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion is carried. You also know, we're amending our consent agenda that we put personnel items on there as well, so we will now move to board, CIP. CIP for today.
Mr. Slater.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Witherspoon. The current status of the completion of the projects is finally moving well, with the weather starting to favor out a little bit better. The month of February was nearly a bust with weather. They did make advancements at Woodlawn, but very little movement at all was done at Huffman. They worked this past weekend on Sunday and had worked the past few days trying to get the earth ready to receive the sod and plant trees. Hopefully, with the commitments that they made to me earlier today, the track surface should start back probably Monday or Tuesday, depending on whether it rains or not. But the temperatures will be rising enough to actually put the track surface on.
With Woodlawn, you said that where are we with Woodlawn? Because we've been hearing 90% for several months. The February invoice came in today, and they're claiming to be 99.5. I'm going over it with the architect at this time. The inside of the building, the gymnasium itself, is complete. They've rolled off the punch list items, and it's all down to dressing up the landscaping and then pressure washing all the concrete to get the dirt off of it.
Ms. Brown?
You're on Woodlawn. Was there any work done to the heating system in that school? In the renovations that you all made?
In the new gymnasium and...
No, I'm trying to think of the room. I was at Woodlawn, and I was informed, I was in a program, that this particular room stays cold. There's something wrong with the heating system. And I was cold myself. And I'm quite sure if you all have not done anything to improve the situation, it's going to be the same way next year. I will call, because I'm not very familiar with the rooms and so forth, but I will get the room number, and I will gladly call I'll email Dr. Witherspoon the number, and next year I'll drop by the school to see if they have some heat.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Williams?
Just an update on Bush Hill sinkhole track.
Mr. Morgan's been working with the Bate
to get a recommendation from them on exactly how to resolve the issue once and for all.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Ms. Williams. Uday Bate has been out there. He's had his staff and engineers out there. They've assessed it. They're coming back with 3 options now for repair. And as soon as we get those options, we're going to review them, elaborate on them, and I'll bring them forth to the superintendent.
Okay, this is month 3 now.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
And it's track season.
I understand.
Okay.
Anybody else? Gentlemen?
Thank you.
See, I'll try that one more time. As you recall, we amended our consent agenda to remove personnel items as well. So the next thing on our agenda is board highlights. Mrs. Gardner.
Again, I would like to say congratulations to Parker High School, Ramsey High School, and Winona High School. I couldn't be more proud. Especially for Parker High School, it's been such a long time coming for you guys, and I think it's an opportunity that has been well deserved. Lady Dragons, I don't know, we're going to have to get Miss Carr some more fingers or start doing necklaces instead of rings or just what, but again, I'm proud to be your representative.
I'm sorry about that. Mr. Watson.
None for me this evening.
Ms. Williams.
I'd just like to say that March is Women's History Month, and I'd like to salute all the women leaders, Birmingham City School, all of our educators. Thank you for your investment, for your time. And I think we had a conversation about, what was it? St. Patrick's Day. So is it this weekend? Monday, the 17th. Okay. And I think there's a parade going on. We just take I can just recall when I was in school, taking those opportunities to learn about history, women's history, St. Patrick's Day, Irish history. We just finished February with Black History Month. And I know we had a lot going on with the snow days, so we missed having any public presentations for Black History Month. And that was a first for me. I really missed it. So I'm sure they are taking advantage of that opportunity in our schools. Thank you.
Ms. Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Wilker. I had the opportunity to visit Arrington Middle School. I was invited by the PTA president, and we had poems and an opportunity to celebrate Black History Month. So I want to thank them for that invite. We had a great time at the Winona High School Unity Breakfast. It was standing room only. So I want to thank Mrs. Hope Carr and the students at Winona. And of course, our students in the career community, they fixed us a very delicious breakfast. So thank them for that. And for Read Across America, I had the opportunity to read to students at both Huffman High School, which they told me I was on the Mr. Collins turf, so I was going to talk to him today about that. But they reminded me that I was there with this program, so I want to thank the principal and also the opportunity to read to the students at Robinson Elementary. So thanks a lot.
Mr. Giantino. Thank you. Ms. Brown.
Thank you. This past weekend, Alabama State School Board Association had a conference at the Hyde Winfrey, and it was a conference that I really wish the new board members all could have attended. There was some very, very informative and good information at this conference. Out of the 4 conferences that I have attended since becoming a board member, I got more out of this conference than any of the other ones. I found out that the Alabama State School Board Association is working on a plan to evaluate all teachers and principals, which is something I have been rooting for a while. there was some powerful workshops at the conference. One presenter was Dr. James Strong. His workshop was the workshop was on world-class schools. He did a second workshop, we need great teachers and leaders. I attended a second workshop, hiring the best teachers, what works and what does not work. I had mentioned last month that we needed an exit survey. This was brought up at the conference. It was also brought out at the conference that we need to get a yellow school bus and put all our ineffective teachers on that bus and ride them on out of the system. Like I said, it was a conference worth attending. It was a conference that was really on the ball. And one statement that was made that stuck: you cannot have a great school if you don't have effective teachers. And we need to stop saying that our students are not learning. When we have failing students, we need to look at who's teaching those failing students. It's not always the students. And again, I really enjoyed it. And last, Carver High School is in my district. And we are all aware of what happened at Carver High School. My thing is this: a principal should not be blamed for certain things, because a principal cannot be everywhere in a school. And it's sad when you have parents that are looking for negative things about schools in our school system. We hear everything that goes wrong in the Birmingham city school systems, but when we look over the mountain, we hear nothing. We have people that are waiting to hear the bad things about our school system. It is time for us, board members, teachers, leaders, start standing up for what we have. I personally called and had additional police at Carver High School on Friday morning. I made a call because it's in my neighborhood and it's in my district. So we need to stop believing everything we hear and start working toward the good things. Thank you all.
Ms. Andrews.
Good evening. Wanted to say one thing. I was able to attend the game where Parker and Ramsey were competing for that championship. And the Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center was packed. There was not one incident. There were parents there, there were children there were administrators there, and it was absolutely beautiful to see that many of our parents, students, and leaders in one place enjoying themselves and not having to be afraid at all. And those are the kinds of things that we wish that people would celebrate and talk about as it relates to the conduct of our children and the way that we are trying to officiate as a system going forward. There are a lot of good things that we need to be cheering about. This board has worked very diligently together and collectively to try our best to work together and find solutions to be of best service to our students, because they are our best asset. And know that we are available and we want to be accountable. We are approachable. If you have questions, we are in our communities. I know that we are all going to neighborhood meetings. We dedicate a lot more time than you all see here before you to the work that we do for our community. So please do not believe what you hear if you are not involved and here to participate in the process. Please encourage parents to come out in your neighborhood and in your districts, because we want the support and we want to start working together collectively as a unit. But I, for one, also echo some of what Ms. Brown was saying, and that we're doing some great things in this school. I had some students that were able to participate in the free ACT prep classes that we have provided, along with transportation for our students, so that they can achieve and they can participate going forward. That's the kind of work that we're doing, and that's the kind of work that's not being publicized. I want us to do a better job of communicating that. Some of that is our fault, and we're taking the efforts that we can to be able to change that. But in the efforts of doing that, community leaders come to us and try not to talk at us. There are a lot of things that we can agree on if we all sit down and work together. But if we keep our children first, it removes a lot of the dissension and a lot of the ambiguity of some of the conversations that exist when we talk about Birmingham students. And so please know that we are working as hard as we can on behalf of our children, and we're very proud of some of the accomplishments that our children are able to do. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'll be brief. I have a couple comments. One is that I want to acknowledge Sharon Bell, who was in the audience. Ms. Bell will be representing Birmingham City School System at the Mayors in Education convention in Washington, D.C. this weekend. And she will have a chance to be a part of the fireside chat with Bill Gates. And that's not a small deal. That's an opportunity. It's a big opportunity. And with all the initiatives Bill Gates has going, we appreciate you. We hope that you can make a new friend. I just saw a young man who was a freshman at Tuskegee who was home for spring break. He interned with me about 2 summers ago at the legal department, City of Birmingham. And he received, and he is a Bill Gates scholar. Not only his undergrad, but for his whatever grant program he wants to attend as well. And so we know the opportunities that the Gates Foundation provides. So we appreciate you, and we hope that you are actually able to leverage friendships and resources. Thank you. I want to acknowledge something Sandra Brown and Dazzy Hendricks, my 2 colleagues, said. We've been on the job a little bit over 5 months, and we appreciate what we do. I thank everybody, 8 colleagues, Sherman Collins, who was unable to be here today. All 9 of us work really hard. And part of what we do, we don't want to make a lot of noise, but you should know we're working really hard on your behalf. I see a lot of employees in the audience who are Birmingham school employees, and I see community stakeholders as well. And what I want to tell you all is this. Part of what we talked about coming into this job was, how do we have efficient board meetings? So you all see a board meeting today, majority of things are consent agenda -1. And you say, oh, they're rubber stamping the superintendent. Well, unfortunately, that's not true unless you have a new definition of what rubber stamping means. That definition looks something of the nature of, let's have a work session 2 weeks prior to any board meeting. And at that work session, let's vet any question, idea, concern, issue you have. The issue is that nobody comes to our work sessions. After that, we've asked the superintendent to give us our agenda 7 days out, instead of giving it to us that Friday. So if we're able to get our agenda 7 days out, there's no reason why we should be able to not digest our full packet, read our packet, discuss our packet, address any issues we have. In addition to those 2 things, we asked the superintendent, can you set up some time Thursday, Friday, Monday to meet with board members individually to address any of their concerns, issues, questions? 4th, I probably get on their nerves a lot because I call them all the time. But I think communication is important. And so minimum 48 hours out, hey, let's touch bases with what's going on the agenda. And so what you have up here on a voting meeting day, such as today, is just moving efficient. If that's your definition of rubber stamping, then that's my next t-shirt. And I want to acknowledge my colleagues for us working diligently with each other and working with the superintendent to make sure that, first and foremost, we continue to protect that intangible of our school system, which is the perception, reputation, and credibility of our organization. And how we conduct our meetings, how we engage each other, and how we interact with you all, the public, is important to us. So I just wanted to make that official and put that on the record. Thank you. Mr. Superintendent.
Excuse me, please, Dr. Willis.
Mr. Woodford, if I could report.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to commend and take this opportunity to recognize our president, Mr. Randall Woodford, for being recognized as one of the top 20 under 40. So I just wanted to commend you. It's not every day that people recognize good leadership, and we're very proud of it.
Thank you, Ms.
Great
Williams.
accomplishment.
Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. President. First item I would like to highlight, and Ms. Hendricks did make mention of it, with the ACT prep program. I do have some data, but I'm going to have to clean that up before I get that to you. And what I want to do in the upcoming meetings is to have Ms. Nguyen to present this data and information to you. And that's one of the, as you talked about, Ms. Woodford, coming back and you know, we're investing in programs and those types of things. What's the data telling us? And are we getting a good return? And especially the number one piece on our strategic plan, which is teaching and learning. So we want to present that data and give it back. I can say that we've had right at about 500 students that have been coming pretty diligently on Saturdays from 9 to 1. That number, other than this last week, has continued to increase at our schools. We have a number of, we've taken 2 mock tests and we've seen improvements across the board leading into April. And we're we've got some students identified at each school. We're waiting on one school's data, but we've got some students identified that have made significant growth between the 2 mock tests that we've given, and we're going to go, Between and I are going to be going to those schools and recognizing those students for their hard work and their improvement. We're going to be implementing a middle school piece moving forward, and we also had, quite frankly, students in other school systems to say, hey, can we come? So I had Mr. Watts look at our numbers and come up with a dollar amount that those folks could pay and take part, because we did have some seats that were available. So that word is getting out, and we're going to continue to highlight that, and it just proves, and I'll go to, I think what Ms. Brown said, our students can achieve, and where we put those expectations and we push toward that, we can see the results, and that's something that we're all committed to moving forward. Next item, I would like to thank the board for their approval this evening of the annual leave day for those employees that remained back in January. Sent letter to the entire system saying that was on the agenda, and we certainly wanted to show our appreciation for that. So we do appreciate it and wanted to show some support there. And we'll continue to look at other ways we can certainly recognize our folks that went above and beyond. Mr. Watts mentioned the legislative session. There have been a number of boards that have approved some resolutions with regard to supporting the college and career ready standards, and Mr. Woodford and I talked about that. We didn't have time to get anything together for this point, but Allison Grizzle, who certainly our Teacher of the Year and the Alabama Teacher of the Year, was there today and speaking certainly on our behalf in support of the college and career ready standards, and hoping that we don't see a change in that as Mr. Wise, they look at some of the budget stuff. We don't want our LEAs hurt, but we want to continue with the standards that we have and continue moving forward in that regard. So we're certainly supportive of the standards and knowing that our students can achieve and excel and can reach those bars. Last thing, Mr. President, we did have our advanced ed visit last Tuesday and Wednesday. I want to thank members of the board, staff, we had principals, we had community folks and various stakeholders that did come and interview with the advanced ed team, the special review team, and they really don't give you any feedback. We did see some smiles. We saw some different facial expressions than that's any sign than we received when they were here before. but we certainly appreciate those efforts, and we're looking to get some positive feedback back in the next 45 to 60 days moving forward. So I want to thank everybody for that. And we certainly presented ourselves as a school system that is indeed moving forward on all fronts. We did highlight the fact in terms of the strategic plan that was adopted in piece number 5 that spoke to systems and processes. And that's regardless of what we do in the district. Do we have systems and processes? Are we measuring those systems and processes so that we know without a doubt, not that we think we're doing okay or it feels like we're doing okay, we know with the use of data we are doing what we need to do, we're meeting those goals and we're meeting benchmarks, and we can use that data moving forward. So we appreciate the work that's been going on, and we are certainly optimistic with the report that comes back. And I want to say thank you to everyone for that. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. We're now ready for community voice. Again, I just wanted to bring to your attention for those who are speaking that we are, unfortunately, you're on a 2-minute time. Let's be respectful of the count, let's be respectful of each other. We have Dr. Stephanie Huey, Walter Williams Jr., and Richard Franklin, if you all could come in that order.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Well, it's been a long time since I've seen your faces since the campaign trail that we were on together. And I'm here today to our new president, to the new board members and the old board members, and to Dr. Witherspoon. I come before you today because I teach at our Parker High School. I've been there since 2006. And I'm very proud of the school that I graduated from in 1973. I was an athlete there, and also I was very smart there, academically. But I come before you today because something grieved my spirit, and I gave you a letter to that effect. And we have 5A state champions. I work with our children. And we had planned a parade approved by Mr. Hudson. A committee formed, and we were ready to go forward with our parade. We got our permit before Winona got their permit, and then politics came into play. And they pushed my boys in the background, and then they put Winona before the boys. And the boys began to come to me. Now, they call me Mama Huey. It's okay, because they are my children, and I love my children. But when you see kids who have worked diligently and hard, and I'm at just about all the games, getting on to the referees, yelling at the referees, but when you see those children who have worked hard be pushed back in the background, and they come to me and say, Dr. Huey, why are they showcasing Winona over us? And everywhere we go, we have to be shadowing the Winona girls. I say, babies, I don't know. I say, but Dr. Huey, we'll find out. So they undermined it. They really did. They undermined it, and now my boys can't have their parade on March 14th. They decided to combine them. Thank you so much. But read the letter that I gave you.
Mr. Walter Williams, Jr. Is Mr. Williams here?
Good afternoon. I am Walter Williams, Jr. I am the new Director of Schools, Safety, Security, and Readiness. And I just want to address this board and to say thank you. I'm looking forward to working for you to get this position that's been vacant for a while back. And things have been happening. I'm fully aware of it. I come ready to handle it. My career has been in law enforcement and security, most recently from Lawson State Community College, where I served as Chief of Police for 22 years. So I'm I'm very aware of the educational setting, and children are our future. And I've learned over the years how to temper law enforcement when it comes to our children, because they are our future. And I have a little chaplain's hat because I'm a chaplain also. And I have to preference everything I do with the Word of God. That tempers what I do. Because in addition to working for you, my ultimate boss is the one that I have to deal with in the end. But I look forward to serving you. Thank you for your vote of confidence.
Brother Frank.
Board President, Superintendent, other board members, and community members. I come to you today to talk about partnerships. I think we need to, maybe we got off on the wrong foot, all of us. You have to include everybody in the process. One example I give, I'm going to talk about a school to show I'm not an employee of the district. We're the teachers union. LSNAA, we get this bad rap. But this weekend I got an earful from some people in this community as if I was the superintendent, or I didn't even know, don't even know if we own this building. But a couple of years ago we closed Arthur Elementary, and I don't know what's going on. We haven't talked about it in years, but the school condition is atrocious. Windows are bust out, everything. I don't know if we own it or the city owns it, but this just a example of sometimes things that we have to communicate with each other. And right now we don't really have that process except for this right here. I also want you to think about something. Robinson Elementary accomplished something. Do we know how they accomplished it? I tell people, I was told that they were the only failing school, elementary school on the list. I said I don't care, because if they would have failed one more year, those children in that school, we would have been taking that money, going somewhere else. But do we know what they accomplished, what they did as a community and as a faculty? I just think we need to have more conversations about schools that are successful. Look at the data of the schools that are getting ready to fail, and the data of the schools that are doing well. And most of our schools are doing well, but we never talk about it. It's just amazing that we really don't ever talk about that or toot our own horn. The schools that will sit there in the basketball championship, Nona Park and Ramsey, are not just doing well in sports, they're doing well academically. I just wanted to bring some of those thoughts to all of us sitting in this room, because the Arthur School, if you go look at it, I'm not making this up, we haven't talked about it. But we're bad, a lot of people say, but I'm telling you something that all of us sitting in this room, if they come here and brought pictures, we would have tears in our eyes, because we are responsible for it.